in a second.
Cool. So if someone goes to your YouTube page, it wouldn't show up?
Yes. If they're going on my YouTube channel, it should immediately show up.
Okay, because I was linking your page. Hello, everybody. I don't know if people can hear us.
Guys, remember.
Oh yeah.
Remember to turn down the volume of your YouTube channel, right?
YouTube and the WhatsApp messages.
Yeah, WhatsApp would be a good thing too. How do you mute the WhatsApp?
Last time I was trying to figure that out. I was trying to find it, but hold on, desktop settings? No, there's like nothing.
Is everyone here?
Oh, this is notifications and then sounds. You can untick it.
Yeah?
Yep. That should work. There you go. Where's
the file sound? What? Preferences?
No, on the actual chat.
Oh.
There's like settings and then notifications. Hello. Then you see it says desktop alerts, sounds. I don't know if you see it or not, but
I don't see anything. Hello, everyone. I'll give you.
Trying to cut the sounds off on our chat messages.
Here we go. Here's the link for YouTube.
Okay.
Send it out in the world.
Oh, okay, cool.
So
people are tuning into us right now and going, "What?"
I don't see anything.
Okay, there's a few people.
Hello, everyone.
Oh crap!
You have to turn on the volume.
Oops. There you go.
This is our new intro melody here. Welcome to DJs and Beers Part 2. Cheers, everyone.
I thought the thing was gonna pop open. Cheers.
And somebody jumps out. Cheers, man.
So it's just after 10 p.m. in Berlin and Frankfurt.
Hey, there's Mo.
There's Mo.
We don't have any audio, do we?
You got to unmute yourself.
Mo,
you have to unmute yourself.
Hey, me and David are twinsies with the hats.
LA represent.
What's up?
What's up,
guys?
Okay.
All right.
We're live, huh? Yeah, we are.
We're live, and we already have some people watching us. Hello, people.
Hello, everyone.
For those who didn't get the intro melody, what's the word?
The band is back together with a new lead singer, Radio Slave.
Yeah.
Good to be here.
Yes, we welcome Radio Slave to our newly formed weekly.
I should have been here last week. I apologize. So sorry for that.
Oh, you were sick though, right?
Yeah. I'm sick, but also got 2 kids here, so it's difficult.
Yeah. That's worse than being sick as far as the level of responsibility and lack of sleep, right?
It is. Yeah. But it's good.
But as DJs, we're used to it, right? The sleeping in increments.
Yeah, but the thing is now, Ali, I wake up at 6 a.m. and I go to bed at 10 p.m. rather than, the other way around.
Oh, Jesus. I'm sure you'll adjust.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Hey, is it true? Is it true that you got the name Radio Slave from? I feel like I read this somewhere. I never asked you about it. Like, did you? Were you doing not just constant edits at a radio station?
No. I mean, I was basically
re-edits.
I was doing a lot of re-edits, and actually, he's actually started managing Served. Is that my old manager, David Durrell, who was part of Mars, Pump Up the Volume?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, so, and he lives in Berlin now, and I did these edits of Kylie, of Can't Get You Out of My Head, and we sent it to Pete Tong, and Pete Tong wanted to play it on Radio 1, so we had to come up with a name, and then it was kind of, a slave to the radio, a slave to pop music, and that's where the name came, so that was it.
Wow.
Yeah.
And when was this? What year?
This is 2001, so it's almost 20 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah, it's been a long time.
Damn.
Yeah.
Guys,
Yeah,
keep
that's
talking. I'm going to just copy and paste some of those questions
I see all these
in
like
our chat of the people that are watching us. And while I do this, you can keep talking. And once we're ready, we can answer some questions. But I would like to hear from you guys in the meantime how your last week was.
Well, let's see who's drinking what right now, because this is supposed to be DJs and beers. And
That is that's the most important.
Malbec.
who's got the alcohol going? Who doesn't? Oh fuck! Am I the only one with no alcohol? I'll be right back.
I got a beer from
Hold on, I'll be right back.
called Brewery West. They actually have really cool can designs. There's like these little stickers that like make the can art. I think it's kind of cool. Yeah.
Sweet.
What
I'm
are you
totally
drinking,
old school. Flötzinger from Nuremberg. Yeah, I had it last week too. I have a whole case here, so I just drink this all the time. Cheers.
Another Helles beer. That's your favorite one?
Right now, I really like Helles, but it's hard to get some really good IPAs at the moment because I don't want to go shopping, but I maybe have to order online.
Are there like beer delivery shops? I think we asked this last time. I don't remember. But...
In Germany, beer delivery stores?
Or in your city?
What question is that?
In your town, but for craft beer though.
Yeah, I guess I'm sure there's. Yeah, we have some craft beer.
What brewery is that, Ali?
This is there's a brewery named Stillwater Artisanal.
I've heard of Stillwater.
And Brian at Stillwater had sent me this, I believe, last year. It's I'm going to read the label. It's a dry hop sour ale with white sage.
Whoa.
Yeah, and it repeated that 3 times. So I'm going to taste it now. Thank you, Brian. I knew it would come in handy. Cheers, guys.
Well, what are you drinking?
I have a bottle of Southern Comfort. Sorry, no beer over here.
At 1 p.m., that's hardcore, Bo.
That's
delicious.
It goes down smooth.
Yeah. There was a question that somebody asked. I don't know if we're jumping topics here.
Dude, we're free to do whatever we want here.
But our good friend from New York, Zohad, you probably know him. He said, "What's everyone's favorite meal before a big set, and what about after a meal, like drunk food?"
These days, I tend to skip the meals and tend to go to bed.
No, you're one of those.
Yeah, I mean, it's just because I'm usually because of the kids. I mean, love the dinners but it's equally important just to get some sleep. So,
yeah,
I can only do that if like I'm on my deathbed. Like if I haven't slept for days, I'll go right to bed because I rarely skip the meal, skip the dinner because for me it like puts me in the right mood.
But I mean, in the States, I don't know. In Europe, you always get hospitality, and you always get taken out by the promoters. But I always find in the States it's very rare.
Yeah,
you have to fend for yourself. So it all
depends on who the promoter is, I think, or what where you're playing.
Friends, and you become friends, but I think more and more these days it's more likely you've got a buyout.
Hospitality in the States is not like it is elsewhere, like in South America or Europe, or even Southeast Asia. It's more like, here's your money. Figure out how you're going to get from the airport to the hotel. Whatever hotel you want to stay in, it's on you.
Okay, but what about pre-gig? Do you guys grub down or do you take it easy? You guys eat?
You got to take it easy, I think. No Mexican. Sorry, David.
No Mexican food.
Yeah, for sure.
I can't do spicy food. No Mexican, no Thai, no Indian.
What if you're in India?
Yeah, you got to go with the mild options.
Yeah.
I've learned I have to eat light before a gig. There's no way anyone can go and do a gig like in a food coma, just feeling like heavy, like eating a steak or something before a gig is just ridiculous.
But sometimes the promoters would be like, "Hey, we're gonna take you to this really nice steak place," and it's like, "Oh, okay." Well, for me anyway. But I try not to go overboard.
We're
But
gonna
if you're I
sideline.
think it depends on how long you're playing. Like if you're doing a 6-hour set and then
Oh yeah,
you're
no.
planning on going to an after party and playing a few more hours, then you're gonna want to get that steak in or like something heavy.
Something to hold you down. That's true. I don't know. Actually, I think I'd probably want to avoid a steak if I'm playing a long set because I don't want to be ruined halfway through. Stick with the salads, and plus I'll drink beer during the set too, and that'll help keep me full. All the calories.
Matt, are you actually on Twitter? I'm sorry, I'm still trying to
There
kind
it
of
is.
promote
I'm being invaded, but at the moment in the studio. So hold on.
That's great. That's great.
Are we sending the link out now to everybody, Chris?
I'm actually doing this right now. I'm trying to listen to you and do this. By the way, I'm
Yeah.
guilty of like sometimes grabbing that piece of that bag of chips before I go to sleep when I get back from the gig. But that's mostly because of my vaporizer, and I get really hungry and then I just eat the whole fucking bag of crisps.
That's because you're a vegan and you didn't eat. You rarely eat much.
Shut up.
Also, you're not vegan. Is Chris the only vegan here right now?
I'm not vegan.
No.
I'm
Okay.
currently vegetarian.
Really?
That's not so bad.
Yeah, since what, November? I mean, I've cheated a few times, but I'm trying to stick to it.
It's probably easier now that we're not traveling, though. You know.
Yeah, it's been a lot easier since I've been home. I mean, my mouth waters when I see a steak on TV still. But
I guarantee you, if you smell someone cooking bacon right next to you, you won't be able to.
No, I usually
choice.
have a tendency to cave in. No, I stopped eating meat for health reasons in particular. I have like a high purine diet issue, so I can't really take in too much proteins. So I've been forced to stop eating so much meat recently.
Chris, I made a great lentil, was vegan lentil soup the other day.
Did you post about it? I saw something.
I don't think I post because I'm still
Did not
trying to
post about
fine tune
food?
the recipe, huh?
You did not post about the food?
No, I can't post about everything I'm cooking because I'm trying to, develop the right skills.
So it needs.
And I got to get all the new cameras placed right and everything kind of set up correctly.
All the GoPros.
I got a new toy. I'm gonna be full professional
What's a new
sooner
toy?
or later. I got this
Oh
thing.
man, that's
It's fancy,
is that the strobe light thing?
It's got red lights and white lights. And if you hit the right buttons, you can choose between cameras and shit. And I'm gonna have a TV studio here sooner or later.
Does that activate the smoke machine as well?
The smoke machine. Hold on.
You have a smoke machine. Is there actual smoke in there?
Smoke up the room.
Yeah, I'm fine.
Do they make smoke machines that like spit out just like weed?
I'm sure someone's tried it.
That'd be hilarious.
I'm sure FIAC over in Berlin tried it.
I think that'd be a waste of weed.
A waste of weed. Well, not
Not
if you're
to
in your
those
own. If you're in your own room, just hotboxing your room or your studio, without having to puff anything. That'd be pretty funny.
I think there's far more adequate ways for it to get into your system than just like burn your whole room down.
I'm just saying for there you go. Now it looks like Chris is just hotboxing his room from weed.
Good times.
Wow.
Oh my goodness.
Jesus, that looks like a fire.
Chris has got a proper rave in his room.
I know. It's getting better and better. And I have my little record store in the corner.
Now it looks like 1991 Frankfurt with the smoke and the graffiti.
The graffiti on the wall.
So there's my little record store right there.
So is this a different flat than the one that I was in last time, Chris?
No, it's exactly the one where you helped me. You remember when you were actually with me the day I moved in this flat? You remember
Yeah,
that?
okay, that's what I was wondering. It was the same one.
On that day in 2012 when we carried over that bed and built it and put it together here, and it was literally the only piece of furniture it was here. So
Yeah.
the first night I was just sleeping on a bed in a completely empty apartment. This is still the same apartment.
You also drew on the wall with a Sharpie marker a very half-assed door, and then took a hammer and broke the wall down.
That is right behind us.
You're like, I'm gonna make a door, and let me just get a sledgehammer and break the wall down.
Okay, I managed to turn off the fog machine. No, the thing was that when I moved in here, it was just temporary because I can reveal some private things. So you guys still see me. I basically got kind of divorced in 2012 and moved out. And when I moved in here, I wanted to rebuild this place. That's 8 years ago. And I still haven't managed because I was constantly on tour. Now, in the past year, I started to rebuild. So this is why it looks like this. And now I had to stop it again. So I decided to paint the walls even more. But Mo, this is exactly what I did 8 years ago. This is how fast time goes by and how much time you're actually spending on the road. This is like, don't you guys also notice this? Like, I'm having an energy overload. It's insane. I mean, I'm sleeping only a little, but I'm still super energetic somehow. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The past couple of days, I've kind of learned to actually enjoy this time at home. I've been spending, well, last time we chatted, I was still stuck in quarantine in a hotel, and now I'm actually back home.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Being home with my kid every day has been great. And,
you look happier than you did last week. That's for sure.
Yeah, exactly. Doing normal things, like other than leaving the house to do stuff, but just having extra time on the house to just do things has been great. Like organize and, throw away a bunch of old cables and go through my studio and fix things that have been broken forever. So enjoying it.
But I mentioned this last time, at least, even though I've still been unproductive even from last week, but the normal sleep schedule that I've been on has been pretty amazing. Just like going to sleep at the same time every day and waking up roughly the same time. That's pretty awesome. That's something I've had for a long time.
What time are you going to bed?
I'm in bed usually on average around 10 p.m.
Oh my God.
And I'm up like at
in LA, it's
like
easy.
At 6. I'm up like at 6 or 6:30 in the morning.
Yeah, every time I'm in LA, it's like the entire city winds down. It feels like around 6:30. Like that's when you just feel this calling, like you got to go figure out your dinner plans and eat, and then you got to be in bed by 10.
Yeah, it's because most
you got to be up at 6, 7. Yeah, but it's only in LA that I feel that.
Yeah, most places shut. Like even restaurants will shut like at 8 or 9 p.m. the latest. Especially where I live. I live in the suburbs, so stuff's not open late around here.
Not over here, man. I live like in the largest Chinese community in Los Angeles, and there's Asian restaurants that are pretty much just open 24 hours all the time.
Are you in Chinatown? Or
no, I live about 30 minutes out of the city, over by like one of the largest Buddhist temples in North America.
Wow.
So like within a certain mile radius of the Buddhist temples considered some sort of holy land or something. So there's just a mass population of not just Chinese, but just a huge
very peaceful people.
Yes, indeed.
There's so much good food by his house. It's so great. I'm jealous. It's so good.
Yeah, it's weird because I don't live in the city center and I'm outside, but it's like still an incredibly large foodie place. Like people drive outside the city to come out to where we live just to like eat all this, great food. So it's cool.
I don't know what's going on here, but the smokes doesn't seem to stop.
Someone that's just tuning in right now is going to think that you're just smoking.
Sorry, the Flötzinger is of course from Rosenheim, not from Nuremberg. What was I saying? The other beer I'm drinking is from Nuremberg. So guys, we're kind of monitoring your comments here in the comment section of the YouTube link that I sent out. And we're obviously looking forward to have some of your questions. But I have a question for now, first of all, like, Matt, you're new into this here now? Hello. You're in Berlin right now, but obviously, when did you move to Berlin? I don't even know.
I think it was 2000. I moved here 2007.
Oh,
so,
wow.
Yes, I've been in like almost 13 years.
Oh, wow.
I was coming here for like, I think from the early 2000s and playing, you know, I think I started playing around 2001, 2002, something like that. So
How's your German?
terrible. my daughter can speak German, but I can't. But I should do. I should learn, but difficult. It's difficult, you know, when you're on the road all the time. It's not sort of language. It's such a difficult language, I think, to learn as well. It's hard, and the wife's Croatian. She speaks German, so and most of my German friends even say that they dream in English.
Oh.
You do that, Chris?
That's weird.
Huh?
Do you dream in English?
I used to. I sometimes I did. Yeah.
Yeah.
I stayed in Wenatchee, Washington State for 1 year when I was a high school student.
Okay.
And that's like after I remember after like 3 months, I started dreaming in English.
Yeah.
I remember you telling me that story. Did you go back and visit the family that you stayed with like some years ago?
Yes, I did. You remember when we did the tour with Richie, the control tour?
Yeah, that's when you went. Yeah.
And we had a date in Seattle. That was the night when I met Charlie, Matrix Man, for the first time too. And I went and visited my family. And I need to ask them how they are, because Washington State is not doing that well, I heard.
Yeah, they're getting hit pretty hard. I think New York and Washington are the worst states, I think.
Yeah.
Right now.
So,
But
Yeah, New York,
all happy and
York
safe.
yeah.
And I hope that's the people who watch us now are also all happy, safe, and healthy, and
But
stay there.
Chris, to go back on the Washington thing, what was that, like a foreign exchange student thing?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. I didn't know that. What were you studying out here? Or out there?
It was 12th grade high school. I just did the last year.
High school.
Yeah, it was a really long time ago.
Did you do you have any crazy stories from anything funny or fun that you did?
Maybe
At
some
12
I don't
years old,
remember.
I don't know.
I mean, you know, the funniest thing that I've learned about Americans when I went over there.
High school. I just did the last year.
Hey,
Sorry.
was when I basically went for the first time to the fridge and I just grabbed the beer and drank it. And I had two host brothers basically, and they were looking at me completely freaking out because the father was vice principal at the high school. They were like, put this beer away. If he sees that there's a beer missing, oh my God, the world is gonna explode, help me. And I was like, what the hell is going on? And so I had to explain to them that I'm from Germany and, you know, I'm 16 years old and it's cool to drink a beer when you're 16 years old. What's the big fuss about? And then I've learned that you had a big fuss about it. And I had a really long talk with, I actually had quite some discussions with my host father about all these rules. And I told him, like, this is insane, because then I've learned that on the weekends, what everybody did in order to drink beer, that's one funny story. My German license that I had, not a driver's license, my German ID card, had a serial number that could be read as a birth date. if I was like kind of hiding one of the numbers in the beginning, it looked like that I was 21 on that thing. So I ended up being the one who had to buy the beers all the time, going into the store like, yeah, here I'm from Germany and I'm really old. And this is my ID.
Is that your American accent?
What was the result of not being allowed drinking beer? We got loads of beers, packed them in the car, and then started driving around and drank the beer. Like driving around drinking the beer. Like what are these rules for? I never understood. But that is like this drinking age with 21. At that time, it was 19 in Idaho. So sometimes we took cars and drove over to the border to Idaho to just get more beers, I guess. And that's another point where I wanted to add from last week, because I think the drinking age that you have in your country is really responsible for the fact that you don't really have the same kind of club culture that we Europeans have, you know, because you divided your audience between people under 21 and between over 21. Am I kind of right with that theory?
Yeah.
Now there's some clubs that are 18 plus too, but not many, not anymore.
I don't think anymore. Because raves used to be there. Like when I first started going to raves, they were all ages. Like
Yeah,
I was 14, 15, going to raves and coming home at 10 in the morning.
Yeah.
Like you think about this now, you're like, who? Like nobody would let their kids go out. And then they moved it to 18, and now it's 21.
Yeah.
But I think like
the shit that I was
EDC
doing-
and stuff is still 18 and over, like all those Insomniac events. I
Yeah.
believe
Oh,
they're 18 and
I
over.
thought they were all 21 and over.
Yeah, I mean, but these are events, and I'm talking about clubs, club culture.
Clubs, yeah.
Because let's jump into some questions. There's Secret Ravers asking about, talk about your musical beginnings. Would be good to hear where we come from. And for example, I started going out to clubs when I was probably 15, 16, and you hung out in these clubs obviously with older people because everybody went there. You know, there were 20 years old, 21-year-olds, 25-year-olds, you know, and you just hung out together and you created that whole club culture together. You know, there was not that separation. You're allowed to drink a beer and you're not. And it just kind of grew together, and it was happening in the clubs. And these are the early days. And even before that, if I may answer the question first, and then I would love to hear from Matt, actually, how he got into music, because I have no fucking clue. And I'm really curious. I basically, when we started to do our first parties, like school parties in the tennis club and something like this, with rooms we could, or venues or rooms we could use for on a Saturday afternoon or night, and we set in a little sound system. I always kind of ended up, because I had the biggest tape selection of music, I always was the one who ended up in front of the tape decks, like rewinding and forwarding the tapes, and to play the music. And that was kind of my beginning to become a DJ. And there was two reasons for it. A, I was always totally annoyed by everyone else's music selection. I was completely annoyed every time. It's like, how can you play this track after this track? It's not possible. Let me do this. And B, I was never really the socializer. I was kind of the awkward guy standing in the corner, not knowing how to deal with other people. So I was kind of in my corner being alone, and I could just rewind and forward tape decks. That's how I got into it. Matt, you're next.
That'd be a great DJ name, though, the Socializer.
I guess for me, I mean, I grew up in South London, and my dad was he was art director for Reader's Digest, and so he worked with a lot of younger designers. So when films like Wild Style came out, my dad would bring me back to the soundtracks to that movie from Groove Records in Soho. I guess he was getting all this stuff from his friends at work, and but it wasn't until like the late 80s that all my friends, older friends from school, were already going to like the Trip, and they were already, you know, taking loads of acid. They were going to all the big parties in London. But it wasn't for me until like almost, I guess, 1990. I mean, I was already I had loads and loads of records. I was buying loads of records, but I was more into hip hop DJs. And then, of course, I went to, I think it was Milk Bar in London, and that was my entry into the whole thing. And then, yeah, that was the beginning for me. And within like a year or 2 years, I was playing there. And that was actually through Pete Tong and Dave Durrell, who I befriended at the club. And from there, I went on to play at the Ministry of Sound in the mid-90s. I had a little studio with friends, and we put out records. I was more the producer, sitting in the back, you know. I wasn't actually hands-on. That was my entry into it.
Sweet.
Wow.
No.
Yeah.
Me. Yeah, I think we were talking about this last time on the last stream.
Just slightly, we talked about, yeah, right.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of started off playing in bands mostly, so you know, I was kind of doing the kind of backyard punk scene thing in LA, and I just got lucky because one of the bands I was in, the drummer that was playing was probably about 4 or 5 years older than me, and he invited me to a rave one day, and I don't think I cared much for it. I was just like, yeah, I'll go and go check it out. And I think I walked into that room, and that coupled with a psychedelic experience just completely flipped my mind upside down, and my whole world changed, and I never looked back. I mean, electronic music was the only thing I wanted to do from that point on for the rest of my life. It was like entering into this completely unknown world for me. This was like maybe 95 or something like that. So I was quite young too. Now thinking back about like how old we were when we were doing it, Jesus, I should not have been doing that at the age that I was. But yeah, I mean, it was a great experience. But soon after, I was already like jumping into recording studios and working since like maybe the age of 16 or 17, wrapping cables and working for various dance music record labels and just doing whatever I could, interning around Hollywood studios all over the city. So music's always been number one since day one.
What are the most famous musicians you've met on that way?
Oh, Jesus, man. I mean, there's a long list of people working in tons of studios. I mean, I've had the opportunity to work with people that I've actually really liked. I mean, people like Cool Keith, who, Ultramagnetic NFTs or DJ. He also did the Dr. Octagon stuff, but I also worked with a lot of super mainstream artists. I worked with George Clinton from Parliament for probably a good 6 months in the studio interning one particular project, which was a very memorable time. I even had studio sessions with like Bobby Brown and Whitney Houston and all these people. But I mean, I never had a really personal relationship with them because the studio that I worked at was very strict. You had high-end clients that came in, and we set everything up. They came in, they did their work. It was very much a very kind of strict working environment, but definitely tons and tons and tons of rappers, pop artists, a lot of mainstream people. So it was a fun experience for sure.
And the DJing, how that started again?
Well, I mean, that started from just going to parties too, because I was just sitting back there and watching the DJs play music. And I was just thinking like, fuck, like, what are they actually doing? I mean, of course, I did grow up with a lot of hip hop. So I saw a lot of more the turntablist thing, but like actually mixing records, it just completely blew me away. And I wanted to be I had all these elaborate ideas in my mind at the time, like all this stuff that I wanted to do. And I soon realized when I actually got a hold of some turntables and got to sit down that things didn't actually work the way I had it in my head. And, I finally refined my skills, and I was very fortunate enough to grow up with some really, really, really good DJs in my area that kind of showed me the ropes and taught me a lot about music. And there was a great emphasis amongst all my peers that like, you're really going to get into this. You got to really learn the history of it before you move forward. Because if you don't know where you're coming from, then you don't know where you're going. So every time I walked in, I'm like, oh man, I heard this record. I really like this. My friends were like, oh, well, if you like this, you should listen to this and this and this and this and that. And I had a really good educational system behind me to be able to kind of learn a lot about techno, its history and everything.
Was it techno that you got into initially when you first got into electronic music, or was it like you found your way to techno through other genres?
No, I found my way through techno. I mean, to be frankly honest with you, it was through a lot more of aggressive and extreme electronic music stuff. Because because I was listening to a lot of punk and industrial music at the time. Yeah. Even like when I was listening to early industrial stuff, I think I was maybe 13 and I picked up this compilation like industrial music for a new generation or something like that. Yeah. And it had like a mixture of like classical industrial stuff like Coil and Throbbing Gristle, but it also contained like this kind of like post-rock industrial stuff like Ministry and KMFDM and Nine Inch Nails.
I worshipped all that stuff, man. Those are my roots too.
But it's interesting because I never really ever made the connection in my head that was so closely associated, to the dance music culture that I had fell in, when I first started going to parties. Mm-hmm. But I've lost my track of thought. What did you ask me, Chris?
Sorry.
How you got into?
Oh yeah, what I got into. No, it was so I started going to raves, and I remember back in the early 90s in LA, almost every party that you went to had 3 rooms. There was like this drum and bass room, there was like the techno trance room, and then there was always like a hardcore gabber room. Yeah. And I think the thing that I gravitated to, being 14, 15 years old and listening to punk music and aggressive music, was definitely like the gabber and the hardcore thing.
Well, we've come full circle, I think, with
yeah, exactly.
I Hate Models and Cobacil and some of these other guys who are playing so fast. And I love it. I love the energy.
I've actually spoken open about that too, to see how it actually has been kind of coming back around. But yeah, and when I first started DJing, I literally was going to like this local record store. I think I took you there once, Chris, this record store called Dr. Free Clouds. And they had a huge collection of like records that were coming from Rotterdam and the Netherlands. And we were just hard acid records and, just, really, really fast acid records and gabber and hardcore and old UK, techno stuff. And yeah, I think my taste just refined, and then slowly but surely it started to slow down, and I was discovering, Jeff Mills, and even listening to, like, I remember the first time I got Plastic Man Sheet 1 record, and it was just like, it completely blew my mind, and it opened so many doors for me, and just learning about the techno scene from Detroit, and getting into early Detroit techno, Kevin Saunderson, Juan Atkins, and Derek May, and all those guys as well. So yeah, the taste definitely refined over time.
This feels like an interview, Chris.
I'm just waiting for you guys.
Oh, well, we're waiting for you now.
This is the host.
Am I the host now? Am I
You're the host.
Now? Okay,
Yeah.
I'll take it. I'll take it.
You have all the questions.
David, when did you DJ for the first time? I think we actually went to the Dr. Free Cloud store last couple of years ago when I came to LA. Mo,
Yeah,
Mo probably took you there.
I took you there.
Yeah.
When I first DJ the first time, I think it was about 95 or 96. I got into it through my brother, who was so back in LA, back in the 90s, early 90s, there was things called party crews, which were like a bunch of teenagers that would just throw backyard parties, sometimes warehouse parties. And that was like a huge scene out here in LA. And that was my introduction to electronic music and raves. Like from there, I kind of went from backyard parties and ditching parties to going to like proper raves where, I had no idea what the scene was really about. For me, it was like friends would hand out flyers, these little Xerox flyers, and you just go to a backyard and the party would get busted and there'd be DJs. Then you move on to the next party. There would be like 15 parties in the same block. It's kind of weird, but really cool at the same time. So I started basically in the backyard scene and kind of grew from there. But it was like around 95, 96. At that time, it was a lot of the Chicago dance mania stuff, the really jackin', also like they call it US Hard House. So there's this label called like Underground Construction. So very, very ghetto Chicago kind of blippy stuff. That's the stuff that I got first into. And then from there, when I went to raves, and I was like, oh shit, what's this other music? And it was like hardcore techno, there's trance, drum and bass, and kind of opened a whole new world to me. So yeah.
Let's define that question a little bit more. When was your first paid club gig, and where? And,
paid club gig.
And how much did you get on your first paid club gig? First David, then Ali, then I'm gonna hear from Matt, then from Mo, and then I'll do my story. First paid club gig.
Okay, first paid club gig was in 2000. Does it have to be actual money?
Doesn't matter what you got for it.
I got paid. It wasn't drugs, if people are thinking drugs, but I got paid in alcohol. It was actually a bottle of Malibu rum. That was it was this club in Koreatown. It was called Vitamin E.
I think I remember
that was in the year 2000.
In the year 2000, that was.
Yeah.
I feel old now.
Well, I DJ'd at house parties in like 96, but I never got paid for that.
No, I mean, like, that's why I like paid club gig. I'm talking about paid club gigs.
Yeah,
Ali,
yeah.
your paid club gig in what club?
Paid an actual club. I think I was still not even 21. It was a club in Washington, D.C. called The Vault, which was a pretty famous club. And I don't remember even getting paid. For me, it was just all about like opportunities to play. And I got into it through, funny enough, as you guys were talking, I was kind of thinking about my own roots. I was into, the early hip hop during the whole breakdance era. And we had a crew. So I was the guy with the boombox. There was obviously a couple of the guys who were the best dancers, the break dancers of our crew. And then there was a guy that had to carry like the cardboard that we had graffitied that we would kind of fold up and then lay down to battle other crews. And I was the guy that carried the big ass boombox and had like the selection, things that I was recording from like, mix shows on the radio, or things that I was kind of discovering through the local record stores. And then that led to me playing school dances. And then from school dance, and this was all unpaid, obviously. And then I started playing house parties, like David was saying, and then clubs. And then I started to do the whole club circuit in the DC area. But I don't know how I went from like,
but when did you get
sound to new wave to like early house to techno, and then I fell in love with dub and reggae around that whole time. So,
but when did you get paid for the first time? You remember that?
No.
I can't remember.
If you can remember that far back, you weren't there.
Matt, you?
I think that probably the first time I ever got paid is when I played at Milk Bar in London, which was for Dave Durant and Pete Tong. So it must have been around 92. And that was probably, I can't remember how much money. It was probably about £50, maybe 75.
That sounds about right. Yeah.
But then,
sounds is the number.
I went the opposite way. So I started playing in a lot of clubs in London throughout the early 90s. And then by the mid 90s, I was starting to do a lot of free parties. So I went from doing a lot of paid gigs to then traveling to Wales and to Aberystwyth and doing a lot of illegal parties, which opened my eyes to this completely different side of dance music or, club culture, which I didn't know anything about. So I went, from playing in all these fancy clubs in London, and it was great. It was good education for me, playing in these muddy raves to thousands of kids, And also I heard, I wasn't aware of all these DJs like Loft Groover or all these like, I don't know, Hard House, or like, we just didn't have this thing in London, It was completely, or psytrance or this kind of thing that it developed into. I had no idea about this music. I never got into it, but I saw a lot of it. Yeah.
Great.
And oh,
I was
first
thinking
club
about that for a second because I was like trying to grind my head to remember when like my first paying gig was. And I got to be honest with you, I think the first paying gig I paid myself, because in LA, nobody this was definitely after 2000, but nobody listened to techno in the city back then, and when we started throwing techno parties, we were actually some of the first well, not the first, there were a few other people doing it, but
At the time.
we were some of a group of the very first people that were throwing techno parties, and we were breaking into warehouses and throwing illegal raves, and whatever profits we took at home at the end of the day, we split amongst all of us who were DJing for the night, which wasn't very much, but it seemed like we were doing that mostly for all of our own parties until finally we had garnished some sort of demand for the music we were playing, where then paying gigs from other people finally started happening. But that was years and years after.
Huh. My sister was working in a club in that little hometown where I came from.
Yeah.
And one time the DJ on a Thursday night was sick somehow. I somehow got all my gigs, my early gigs, because other DJs got sick. Weird. And that Thursday night DJ got sick, and the Thursday night was kind of a slow night. And so they asked my sister, because they knew that she had a younger brother who had like a record collection at home and tapes and stuff. And that was 91, I believe, in 91. So next year I have my 30-year anniversary of getting paid for a gig. And so I played that Thursday night. I walked into this place, and I knew this place from before, and I made myself a little list of tracks that I would play so I wouldn't forget, and I put it under the turntable. And I remember we had one 1210 turntable, and we had one of the old Technics 1200s. I'm not sure if you guys remember that. It's like the big wooden thing without a pitch control. Wow. And obviously there were no monitors, and obviously I had no clue how to mix anyways, but not really, like, because I didn't have any turntables at home. But I was able to go there daytime to practice a little, And I do remember I got 50 marks paid for that night. So 50 must be the number that every DJ got paid like in these early days. So I want to thank my sister. I want to thank my sister here that she actually promoted me to my first paid club gig back in the days. Oh, and by the way, I turned that club 3 years later into my spin club, because that's another question of Ivano here. I turned it into the spin club because the owner of that club, I don't want to pat myself on the shoulder, but that Thursday night became rather successful after a while. And it became kind of the night to go out in Frankfurt, but not because of me, but because like that was around that time, it was like Thursday night became very popular to go out. And we were in a club that was allowed to open till 3 at night. So after 1, everything else closed down. That was a place to go. And at that time I was playing everything between like George Clinton and Michael Jackson and all that stuff, like funk, hip hop, house, and all that stuff. And then in '93, that owner of the club, he was really old, and he was like, either going to close the club down or you can continue. And by that time I got really into techno already, but I wasn't allowed to play techno in this club. We even had a little paper like glued on the front of the DJ booth with like a dancing person crossed out saying like no techno here. And so this guy at some point knew I was into techno, and he was like, you want to do something? And then I turned it into a club. And the funny thing is, because I see it right behind me, today I went through some old boxes and I found this picture here. And I actually framed it. And that was a picture out of my old club.
Wow.
You can see it?
Wow.
I want to see Chris, I want to see the advent calendar you made. Was it Spin Club, or was it CLR?
No, this was the Spin Club in Gießen, in my old hometown, basically.
Yeah, but do you have any of the advent calendars that you made?
What advent calendars?
Didn't you make an advent calendar for a Spin Club one?
I think I did. Yes, I did. Yeah, I remember that now. There's other things I keep forgetting. Yeah, right.
I also remember with Spin Club, I think when I started playing for you at Spin Club in Space, it was probably one of the...
Space. Was it Space?
Yeah, it was in on the terrace. I think it was probably the only techno night at the time in Ibiza, maybe.
Yeah, it was 2007 that was.
Yeah. No, it's great. Really good times.
Thanks for playing for me, dude. I was a big fan. I used all these nights just to invite all my favorite DJs and acts and producers just to get to know them.
Yeah. But no, I think you were like at that point, I think you were kind of ahead of your time, because there wasn't anything like that on the island, you know, and it was...
Yeah, which sometimes is also not a good thing.
Well, yeah. Sometimes it's best not to be first. That's the truth.
Be the trailblazer. Gene Wellborn is asking, and that's a good question for right now, because there's some DJs or some artists I follow in the social media who have writer's blocks right now and creative holes, and some others are like completely glowing. And Matt, for example, he just told me early on, even though he has 2 little kids in his house and he gets up at 6 in the morning and has to do a million things, he already finished another 2 tracks in the last, 10 days, week?
4 days.
And you were sick last week. So George,
Gene
Wellborn is asking, how do you guys defeat writer's block when producing tracks, Matt?
I mean, to be honest, the last 2 years I haven't had it, but I think there was a point around 2011 where I did have complete burnout. I was just I'd made too much music. I was on the road, and I kind of lost the kind of the flow that, you know, when you have before, obviously things blow up. If you're coming from maybe a producer into maybe the DJ thing rather than a DJ into the other way around. But yeah, I wasn't at home and I wasn't making music, and I think I'd forgotten a lot of the things a lot of the tricks or things or processes that I was used to doing, you know, and I also just didn't have the time. And that meant that I lost my confidence. And I think that can lead, for me, that would ultimately lead to a block, you know. But I think once you get into a flow, you can just keep hammering them out, because, you know, that's my thing.
Well, you're doing this right now. You're hammering them out.
Matt, when you had your block, were you holding things back that you didn't feel confident about, or were you just releasing things
I think at that,
despite how you felt about the
I think
material?
at that point, I think with maybe around 2000, and I've been making this very sort of hypnotic kind of linear sort of tracks around 2008, 2009, and I think the sort of times changed, and there was a lot at that point. There was this kind of like K house sound from New York with the Wolf and Lamb thing. Everything kind of changed, and then there was the tech house. What I loved about tech house maybe moved to swing in the 90s, or a lot of the New York stuff, which I would consider maybe the origins of tech house, or maybe became this almost like a dirty word to me. It became sort of very formulaic, and so I think there was at that point it was a crossroads for me of I was into like Joe Clausel, I was into all this stuff. What exactly am I trying to do here? You know, or I wasn't making maybe music also for myself. I was making it for maybe because I was just stuck in this loop, where I had to do things for other people. And I think that's the problem. I think once I took a step back and decided that I'm only going to just do it, fuck it, I'm going to do it for myself, then it becomes a lot easier. And I don't, don't worry about what other people think.
Makes sense. Please yourself first.
Writer's block.
David, are you still in the writer's block?
Yeah, I haven't done jack shit.
I find that incredibly hard to believe.
Seriously, I have like it's been over 3 weeks. I haven't written one track. I don't know. My mind is just not in the right place. Normally when I have a writer's block, I could just dig through my records and listen to music and get some inspiration. I've tried it, and I just think my mind's not there. I think I'm still a bit freaked out at the whole situation. So it's just like I'll try to sit in the studio and listen and do something, and just like, nah, I turn it off and I just go to the living room and just, I don't know. I can't. I really can't.
You guys think like that what we're going through is going to influence like the style of music that you typically make or that you're known for? Like, because artists tend to mirror what's happening in society.
Oh, no, Ali, I was told by my distributor today to stop making club music and to start making music that people will want to listen to through Spotify.
That's why I asked. Yeah. Because
of there are a lot of, obviously, if you're making dance music, people they can't go and dance to it. I don't know.
I mean, people are still, I think, Dixon coined it so eloquently, and it makes perfect sense to me now. Together we dance alone. Like, I didn't understand it then, but I totally understand it now. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, like, I guess the question is, like, do you guys feel like you're going to mirror what's happening and channel that into a more dystopian, apocalyptic, harder, darker techno sound? Or are you going to go in a more deeper, like introspective, slower, groovier kind of direction? More melodic, more ambient?
You described both styles of music. That's all I've been making for so. But yeah, I don't know.
I mean, there's a pretty stuff, and then there's the real dark, heavy. I mean, there's like a drone stuff, and then there's like ambient. There's so many different genres and subgenres of each genre.
Well, I've had a pretty shitty writer's block making techno for the past couple of years, just trying to find out what I want to do. But I've definitely found my outlet through so many other different genres. Like if I just sit down in the studio and I don't say, all right, I got to make a dance track, and I just let myself make whatever flows out of me naturally, everything that's been coming out of me has been more listening electronic music. And the album that I had released in the last year and the majority of EPs I've done have all been ambient records, or more a little bit, for a lack of better word, experimental records. But I will say, I don't know, something about what's going on right now has done quite the opposite. I know that it's given a lot of people writer's block, but for me, it's kind of really inspired me. It's given me a drive to feel like I need to somehow channel whatever fear or insecurities I have about going on into music. And it's been like, I've got to get this out of me, so I've got to get it through music. And it's definitely put me in the studio more for the time I've been home already than usual. So yeah, I will say that what's going on is definitely going to be influencing the music that I'm making. But I don't think I have a specific idea of what I want to do. I'm just going to just sit down in the studio, turn on the computer, and just whatever flows out naturally is really all I'm capable of doing right now. I can't worry about, is this going to hit hard in the club? Are people going to like, you know, freak out to this at peak time? Or is this going to really mix with this style? Or is this what people like or what don't like right now? I can't let any of that have any fucking influence over what I'm doing right now. It's just going to sit down and make music. And whether it's marketable or people are going to buy it, or whether it works in the club, or if it's for Spotify for listening or whatever, holds no relevance. I've just got to do what I got to do.
Chris, what about you? Because I remember when we were together, you were playing me a lot of demos from like the next kind of Burn Slow project, like part 2.
Everyone is leaving. No,
that was their cue to leave.
I'm in the final. I'm going both ways. And generally speaking, I have to say that not having to leave at some point again, leave this place at some point again, gives me somehow the security to just sit down and bang it out. Like, I'm really happy to be here, and it actually fuels me somehow. Oh, we're gonna go for red wine now. Actually, I'm gonna switch over to red wine soon too, because I just realized I have still an open bottle over there.
But are you continuing to work on that material? Because a lot of it is like, you know, slower, more melodic, darker listening material.
It's like this stuff I'm working with Ralf Hildenbeutel together, as I explained last time. For the next album that's going to be on Mute, I'm working with Ralf together again. And we basically already finished all the tracks. We're working on the vocals now. So just before the virus closed down, I was in Berlin meeting that one vocalist. His name is Tom Adams. He's such this amazing vocalist, and I'm working with him on 2 tracks. And we met like 3 days in the studio while I was in Berlin in that week. And it was like, he just spontaneously came up with lyrics and put them on top of the tracks. And then he recorded it and he passed it on to me the day later and said, I listen to it, think about things, like what do you think, and what lyrics you want to use. And the lyrics he was using were kind of coming subconsciously. And if I listen to it, it just perfectly fits on the music. So I'm basically, of course, I'm finalizing that music, but it's already written in a way. But the lyrics are coming, and the lyrics are so spot on for this time right now. Like, for example, he has phrases in there. I'm feeling something inside me. Is there anybody out there? I'm tired, I'm scared. And it's all these phrases in there. And I was asking him like 2 weeks later, like, dude, this is insane what you're singing there. Like, did this unconsciously? And he was basically like, no, but he already had the feeling that this situation, or that's life situations in general for him, subconsciously give him like the ideas of the lyrics. So that is the one thing. But on the other hand, I'm already like finalizing my next remix for Nicolas Bugayev now. And I'm basically asking now around, like I asked Matt early on, like, give me some music I want to remix, because I'm really keen on sitting here and just taking other people's samples and turning them into tracks, because I really didn't have much time to work on club music in the last 2-3 years because of the constant traveling. And then when I had time, I was working rather on my album material. So right now I'm so happy and energized to be working on club music and bang it out. And it works really quickly too. It's just like, it just happens. So I would love to give you some, David, of that right now. And maybe David, one idea.
Hey guys,
maybe.
let's all give Chris something to remix.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'll send over some sessions to you.
Huh?
I'll send over some unfinished sessions to you.
I'm sorry, I have my WhatsApp on. I just need to blink, blink, blink. Can you send me some unfinished sessions and I mix them here?
Yeah.
I'm so happy to be sitting here and not have to pack. Like, literally, I love going on tour. Don't get me wrong. DJing is my passion. I just love it. And for those who basically see me on my stream sets, I really love what I'm doing and I can't stop. But at the same time, I'm so happy I don't have to go outside and have to board the next plane to go somewhere. And I realize right now that doing this for the past 20 years, how much energy this is actually draining and taking away from you. And the longer I sit here, the more energetic I get, and the more I want to do somehow.
Are you guys still going online and buying music?
Yeah, I mean, I'm still buying stuff from Hardwax.
I mean, even though we don't, I'm on Hardwax all the time, even though we don't have a place to play, but we're all doing live streams and stuff like that. But
I think this is the thing, Ali. I think this is all gonna slow down. I mean, I'm not sure. Of course, everything. I think record labels and distribution is going to continue, and of course, everyone has their release schedule. But I'm not sure whether the consumers will be so sort of hungry or thirsty for music, because there's already like so much out there. It's impossible to keep up as it is.
Yeah.
I mean, even if I look at Dex, Hardwax, Juno every day, you still miss stuff, even and Beatport as well, So,
do you think what's happening now is going to slow all that down or reset it somehow? Like, I think the market has been saturated for a really long time now.
I think in the next month we'll find out whether or not vinyl, whether we can still distribute vinyl, because of course the restrictions with shipping and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And of course, even like now Phonica is closed. They even closed their online store. I know Boomcat is still delivering, but I mean, the physical network is so small anyway. I'm not sure whether or not what's happening will impact the digital market. Because if people aren't working, they have less money, and so of course it'll be just subscription based and maybe just streaming.
I think now it's time to basically go online and maybe buy a nice vinyl. I for my part,
you might not get it, Chris.
Huh?
You might not get it. You might not get it for 6 months.
Well, Hardwax, for example, is still open. The shipment is within Germany. It's all working. But I finally have a little bit more time to go online and to look for more music. And I have to honestly say, I cheated a little when I was still touring. I was like during a week where I was kind of tired and I really wanted to look for new music. I was thinking, you know what? Last weekend I was playing in wherever, Italy, and next week I'm going to be playing in Denmark. So I might as well get away with like kind of playing the same tracks, even though I'm getting tired of them a little bit. And that's my biggest problem, like getting tired of the tracks that I'm playing. I realize I'm not playing good anymore. This is why I always need some new food to play. But you kind of cheat yourself into, you're going to be playing at a different place and different people will listen. But now with this time now, I want to do one big stream every 2 weeks right now. So I did one with Saturday a week ago, and I'm going to do the next one Saturday.
Like
so I'm
a 6-hour set?
Yeah, exactly.
Lots of
right. And obviously, sort of the same people will always listen. So you don't want to bore these people by constantly playing the same music. So I actually need more music now to play.
So I'm actually like having a radio show.
I'm checking more promos. I'm going more online and finding stuff. And it's really, I find this really refreshing, actually.
But do you think that's going to change the way you play? Because if you don't have an audience to play it to, then because a lot of it's reactionary, right? When you're playing as well, the way you play tracks or the way people react means that this track might stay with you because of the way people you know what I'm saying. And
I know what you're saying. It's really interesting because I realized this too, but I think I need a couple of more weeks or even sets or a month to slowly understand how this influences you.
Yeah.
But I've noticed with my live streams that I don't really care too much about what the audience reaction could be. And I rather play whatever I feel like. I play this now. What the heck? I'll play this now. I like this. And it came to me easier what to play next somehow. I was thinking less about it. And I wanna keep that feeling. But then again, I know we're only in the third week right now. And I'm sure all of us will go through so many different phases in the weeks to come. You know, we're going to get less motivated. We're going to more motivated. We're all going to have our oscillation between where we stand and what experience this gives us. So the live streams right now are really exciting, and I hope that stays that way. But the way I play maybe changes completely in like a month. I have no idea. I mean, we're probably looking back on those streams and thinking like, wow, this has changed quite a bit, our attitude towards things, the longer we're sitting isolated at home.
Yeah.
Yeah, for
Maybe.
sure.
Are you playing like now that like with the live streams, are you know, because when you're playing out live, you're playing a lot of loops and kick drums and things like that, and using the machina to run live drum sequence and stuff like that. Are you feeling the need to still do that when you're doing a live stream? Or do you feel like, oh, I'm just going to play this song and then play another song after that and another song after that?
That's good too. I actually play more songs and I actually add more stuff. Like, I'm so happy to have a 303 standing here, which is a Devilfish modification and it has a MIDI in. So I sync it. There's another question of someone, let me get him. Diverse DJ explaining the setup. I'll do this some other time. It's a boring thing to explain the whole setup, but I have the 303 now. I sometimes took it on tour as well if I had enough space on my in my luggage. And
Look at that.
huh?
A camera
What?
switch. Beautiful.
He's got his little.
Oh. Well,
It's my
he waited
favorite.
until now to do the camera switch.
He was dying to try that.
And it's so amazing to have the 303, and you don't really, you don't have anything else to do. The track is running, and you just quickly program it and you tune it so it sounds cool, and you just do stuff with it. And this is a new thing, so I don't really need to add and layer stuff. And additionally, I have tracks running because at the same time, sometimes you look into the chats and see what people are saying, and you answer something, so automatically you have tracks more running. So it's a whole new different approach. I'm learning a lot new things right now. I feel this is really kind of an inspiring time right now, actually.
You used to take the 303 when you did the collab show with Jochen back in the days, right?
Yeah. That was.
Because I remember I saw you guys play in New York once, like I think what was like 2001 or 2002 or something, or maybe later.
2003, maybe, yeah.
Maybe 2003. I don't know, around there. And I remember looking up on the stage and seeing you guys both had 303s when you were playing live.
Yeah, 2 303s, and we had the machine. I had the Electron machine drum. You remember that one?
I do. Yeah.
And we had, this was that same 303, and it was already modified back then.
Yeah, I know. I used to admire it every time I'd go to your studio, and I just would want to pet it.
Chris, you should tell everyone about the bass banana.
Oh yeah, the bass banana.
He has it.
I found this too.
Holy shit.
That's not a real banana though, right? Clearly not.
It's pumped with all kinds of preservatives.
Yeah, right. No, we you know, when we played together, the biggest issue was, and this is how my approach to producing and to mixing is as well, the lower the frequencies, the more clean it should be somehow, and not too muddy and not too much bass coming together. So when I hear sometimes DJs playing back to back and they all have their basses on, and it just is a big mess going on. So I wanted to try to avoid this, and we needed to find some sort of idea of who's having the bass. And instead of yelling at each other, it's like, take over the bass. We were thinking it's like we need something. And there was this fruit basket behind us, and there was a banana. And then I was just like, okay, whoever has the banana has the bass. And whoever has not the banana doesn't have the bass. So whoever has the bass is kind of the leader. Like he kind of gives the foundation of whatever is running. And the other one is just adding stuff. And so either you had the bass and you felt comfortable having it and you kept it. And then the other one was maybe feeling like, I want to take over now. So you just took the banana. So that gave you this signal, all right, I have to let go. I have to give him a go on the bass, you know? And sometimes it was like you were feeling like, I don't really have an idea. And you just passed the banana on and said like, hey, just you go on now, because I don't really know what I'm doing here right now. And it turned out to be an extremely helpful tool for both of us. So, so you were only leading when you really wanted to lead. Maybe that is something that Ali can tell us. When you do the three back with Nicole and Paco, how are you guys dealing with like playing together and not that it's not getting too messy?
I mean, I'm not going to lie. Like when we're actually playing, it's quite messy. But when we listen back to the recordings, somehow, and then we hear the feedback, I'm always thinking people are going to listen back to the sets and be like, wow, this sounds really muddy and you can't tell what's what. But it sounds like a lot cleaner. But when we're playing all three of us, because of how much gear we have, we're really far from one another. And it's difficult to hear unless we have really good monitoring. It's really difficult to hear who's doing what. Because all three of us have, I think all three of us have push. Yeah, Paco, I think, has push as well. So we're running live drum sequences on top of everything else that's happening. And so like if I'm playing, the other guys are running loops on top of what I'm playing, plus, push patterns, and so am I. So it's like, sometimes we're just like, what the fuck is going on?
Is it all done through Ableton or Tractor or?
It's all, we all have pretty much the same setup.
How you
Three
synced?
laptops, we use Antelope Audio.
How are you synced?
I'm trying to get everybody to, because if everybody connects to one network and we all use Link, then we're all locked together. But it hasn't been very reliable. So what we do is we just type in the tempo. We talk to each other beforehand. We're like, what tempo should we start with? We type that in, and then somebody will start and the rest of us will catch up. And I find the easiest thing to do if we do that is, like, once you get your track on the same tempo, you just kind of loop, because sometimes things will go off. You just kind of loop something in like the fourth deck or whatever, and you just play on the two or three decks, and then you're always locked. When you load a new track and you hit play, as long as there's one deck that's looping a song to the exact same tempo that the others are playing to, you're going to come in dead on. But right. It's always changing.
Guys, we're already in an hour. You want to extend for half an hour? You want to extend for half an hour?
Yeah, let's leave people wanting more.
because there's another thing within us five. Yeah. We have two people here who are responsible for one of the biggest techno hits ever in the world. For those who don't know. Can you tell us the story about that one, Matt and Ali? I'm obviously talking about Grindhouse.
So
right.
I'm gonna get a wine.
Grindhouse was actually the B-side to, I think it was the B-side to this other track that I did, Tan Takatan, this tool that I made. And I got Danton Epron to do a remix. And then he added the vocals and some other melodic parts. And I think at that point, I wrote to Ali, and I asked you to do the remix, but I thought maybe rather than just remixing my parts, I thought, how about let's ask Danton for his remix parts. Cheers. And then I think the first time, I think it was like
there was a lot of parts.
It was like, yeah, it was. I think it was it all came together around WMC 2008. Is that right?
Yeah.
I think that was
because I think it came out 2009 and 2008, or did it come out 2008?
I think you did. Yeah, maybe it came out. I can't. I'll have to Google it. But I always I remember it was. I think you delivered the remix just before WMC.
I remember playing it everywhere at WMC, and everybody would. That's how you know, like you did something really cool, is when all kinds of people come up to you and ask you what you're playing.
Did you?
And I remember
so
that
the
being,
original vocal was by Danton Epron.
Yeah.
So I did like a remix of a remix.
Yeah, basically.
A remix of a remix. And who did the original?
I made I did the original, which was more like this sort of tool with using this kind of horn sound, which I think actually came from another remix I did from Tom Gandy. And I kind of stretched this bass sound into that became this like foghorn, you know, then that became the main sound of the track. And but yeah, I mean, I think I was just really into what Ali was doing at the time, and yeah, no, it came together really well. I mean,
Where did the name Grindhouse come from?
I think it was from that. I think it was from that at that point at that time. The movies were coming out.
Yeah.
And
You mean
Rodriguez Tarantino
Robert
movie.
Rodriguez and Tarantino?
yeah,
movie?
I think I was obsessed with Rodriguez at the time as well. All those movies.
I had always thought that the vocal was sampled from from the movie.
Oh, okay.
Because I just assumed.
It also has the vocal also has this nod to Fabric, to Judy, you know, saying you should have gone home, blah blah blah.
Oh, that Judy, that's who he's talking about.
Yeah.
Judy never goes home. Danton's done a few other things with that, like pitch down vocal.
Yeah, no, I mean, I always remember he had this other like sort of techie sort of hit for Damien's label, which was another kind of pre sort of Get Lost 2007, 2006. Kind of for me, it was those sort of like the wilder days of Miami when it was still a bit sort of rough around the edges, sort of pre just events and a lot of bouncing from hotels to hotels back then.
Yeah.
But,
yeah, there was a period of time where like a lot of techno had like pitch down vocals.
I think it still does, right?
What was that one track?
Techno vocals from Marcool. Techno vocals, right? Yeah.
The pitch vocals.
That still sounds badass today. Like it's like the perfect time to play it. Yeah.
He really put everybody on blast to that one, didn't he?
Yeah.
Actually, with the Grindhouse, we actually have more remixes still that we haven't released. We got a really amazing one from Vatican Shadow, which is amazing. And he's actually redid all the vocals.
Oh wow.
And Lady Starlight's done a mix, but I think we had a bit of like sort of Grindhouse sort of overkill.
So you're pulling a Nightcrawlers on Grindhouse now.
Yeah, could probably go on for another 10 years, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Are you doing new remixes? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, we did a series of remixes, but I think that there was a point where I just thought there's just too many. So
I think Len did a great job. Len Faki, his remix.
Yeah. And there's the slam ones. And Marco Farioni's done an amazing mix as well, which still hasn't come out. So.
Didn't we work on a follow-up single?
I think Danton wanted to do Grindhouse 2.
Yeah, and I remember working on it, and then you sent me a version you had done.
Yeah, but nothing came of it.
Yeah, but maybe it might be time to explore that again.
Yeah, for sure.
What are you doing over there, Chris?
I don't know. I'm keep talking, guys. I was just thinking.
The camera was on the mixer, and I saw signal going. I thought maybe you were like, "Are you sampling our voices, or is it just you're just DJing?"
No, don't you hear that? You don't hear that? I'm playing Grindhouse.
We can't hear it.
You can't hear it?
Now
Ali, are you making any music at the moment? You doing any stuff?
You can't hear it?
I spent most of last year recording, and then the last, like all of February into mid-March recording. So I have a ton of music. I have 4 singles already and mastered, but I put a hold on that. I got this thing on Drum Code coming out next month, and then a remix. I have a lot of stuff. Yeah.
I want to ask you a question. Like, how do you make, the Sandy B, make the world go round?
Yeah,
How did you
I remember you asked me if you wanted to
I would love to re-release the drums mix. The crazy.
Yeah. We should talk about that.
Yeah, how did you do that though? Do you remember?
One second, is Mo frozen and is Ali frozen now? Is everybody frozen?
I think we had a beta version of Pro Tools at that time.
Mo, are you still with us?
Yeah.
Mo's frozen.
I think Mo's frozen.
You froze for a second too, Ali.
Yeah, I think it's whatever Chris is doing is.
I'm so sorry. I stopped doing it. stop doing it. Because
Anyway,
I was playing Grindhouse and I thought you guys hear it, but you didn't even hear it.
Yeah, we lost Mo.
I think we've heard it
Yeah.
before.
Huh?
I think we heard it before.
You heard it before? I thought some of the audience might not have heard it.
Chris,
Hey, audience.
the thing is,
Hey,
with the
audience, are you
microphone-
still there? Hey, audience, are you
The thing
still
with
there?
with the microphone is you don't hear anything in the background. There's like a gate, so like when you talk, it like
Okay.
in the background.
And I was like creaking the noise here and everything, and
hear it.
nobody
You hear it.
nobody reacted to it.
Yeah.
It's great.
But
Dave
what-
Herbert is asking, why are all the vocals pitched so low?
Not
That's,
anymore. I don't think
that's part of the lyrics of techno vocals. That's how we make techno.
Yeah.
Right.
I think that's
And David, when is the work this track dropping?
I don't know.
We don't know. Do not ask us any questions. We don't know. We
Well,
don't know.
With these days, the thing is like what you guys were talking about earlier, it's like I'm making like club tracks and I have all this unreleased club music, and like is there even a point to release it right now at all? Should I wait? So that's where I'm kind of that's where I'm at the moment, you know.
We should ask the audience.
You're not doing a lot of live. You're not doing a lot of live streaming, are you? And all this kind of stuff, are you?
Not really.
No. So I think she should release stuff. You know.
Maybe would that be an idea to get you out of the writer's block if you set up a live set now and you just let things run? I'm just trying to figure out ideas. Maybe some people have ideas and could put them on the comment section how to get rid of writer's blocks.
But also, I don't have really a way to do a nice live stream. Like my only camera is with the laptop. I don't have.
No, I mean a live act. I'm talking about live act.
Oh, live act. Oh, sorry. I don't know. I'm so lazy. I don't want to travel with a bunch of equipment. I like traveling. I like traveling with USBs and like just not even thinking about it, you know.
But live stream, dude. You just need one webcam. Seriously.
Yeah, but like if I did it with my phone, I don't have the proper cable to get the audio. Like I don't want to do, you know, room audio. I want to get like a direct audio signal.
No, I know, but if you
That's hard, dude.
webcam, you can go directly through your computer with OBS or with ACAM software. You just go from your out of the mixer into the computer. Hi,
Yeah,
Mo, you're back.
I didn't use OBS. I went right out of the Model 1 into my phone.
Ah.
With like,
David, if you go to Amazon, they sell these little things called iRig, which hooks up to your iPhone.
Yeah.
port.
I looked that up. Like the soonest shipping is like 3 weeks away for those things.
Get it on eBay. You'll get it in a few days.
I looked on eBay. I didn't see any.
Oh, don't make me go look and pull it up.
I checked like literally last week.
Look out there for Mo.
There was
From
none
David.
available. And if there were, they were coming from like Japan, and those were like 2 to 3 weeks of shipping.
Oh well.
In the meantime, Ali, there was one question. Hold on, where is it? Which I found interesting too. What is the story behind meeting your tour manager, Tim, aka the party bringer? Also, how does it work for you two guys? You seem to be such a calm person, and Tim is the opposite. How do you handle each other?
I mean, I have a history
It's
of working or collaborating with my opposite. So Tim was working for Pasha in Ibiza.
Was he?
Back when Deep Dish had a residency. We were alternating between Renaissance, huh?
You all know Tim? Dingo?
Crazy Australian guy who lives in Barcelona, who's been my tour manager now for 13 years.
Where is he?
Wow.
Is he in Barcelona at the moment?
He's in Barcelona at the moment.
Okay.
And I heard he hasn't really been in touch too much, but I was just talking to another mutual friend of ours who said like his wife's stuck in Moscow, which sucks.
Wow.
She can't leave Russia to go back to Barcelona. But yeah, we met because he was the driver. He was picking the DJs up from the airport and then dropping them off in the morning. And a lot of times when he would pick us up the next day, he clearly had not slept. So he was, I don't know what he was doing, but he was partying or after partying or after partying, and always in this funny mood. And we were always wrecked the next day, and he was always playing like really cool music in the car. And I just thought he was an interesting guy. And when Sharam and I split, I needed a tour manager, and I asked him, and we just gelled. We got along. I mean, we've had our fair share of fights. You do, because you're spending more time with that person than anyone else that you know, even your family. But I don't know, the relationship. I mean, that's a whole different panel discussion. The relationship we have with our tour managers, if you have a tour manager. Chris has had some great tour managers over the years.
Oh yeah, I'm
Wow.
really. I just wanted to represent New York a little here because LA
New
is
York?
so in the. Yeah, because no, tour manager is a fun thing, and I was really blessed so far with having amazing people on my side. Hi Daniel. Hi Ivano.
How's Daniel doing?
Daniel is in his little hometown, which is about an hour south of here, and he's basically living in this studio space, and he has this drum set sitting there, and he just every day he just goes insane somehow. He just sent me videos of him drumming and doing these weird things. I think he has a good time right now.
I think it's important to have, as an artist, you need your tour manager to be like as personable as you are, you know? Because I know, I'm not going to name names, but like I know certain artists that have tour managers who have zero personality. And like sometimes, I mean, I want to come see you because it's you and we have a friendship or whatever. But sometimes when I know you're with Daniel, I'm like, fuck, I'm going to see Daniel too, you know? And some artists have tour managers that I just don't get along with, or they have no personality. And that's the decider right there of like, I think I'll skip it and I won't go.
Well, that's a career choice to really strive for, being a subpar tour manager with your person.
Yeah. Man, I remember Steve Angelo years ago from Swedish House Mafia. It was hilarious. And the guy was so cool. I can't remember his name. But Steve forced this guy to wear a suit, like on the job. And I thought it was the funniest thing in the world because we would play the same festivals and I would run into him because I've been friends with Steve since he was like passing me demos. And then one day we were traveling the next day to the connecting destination, and the guy wasn't wearing his suit. I'm like, oh, what's up with the suit? And then he explained to me that Steve makes me wear it. I'm like, oh, fuck. That's hard.
Get a rave or something. Wearing a suit.
Could have been worse. You could have forced him to dress like a clown.
Yeah.
David, 808's Pacific State applauds you to do this remix competition. Tell us a little bit about the remix competition, because I saw your posts. What exactly is going on?
Yeah, so like late last year, I was approached by, I'm not going to say the name of the company, but I was approached by a certain company that was interested in doing a remix competition, and I was super interested, and it kind of went quiet, and waited a couple of months, never heard back. Then apparently I found out that the person running the competition got fired, so it was put on the back burner. And I recently thought about it because of this whole thing, and I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna do it myself. Like, I'll just organize it. Nothing crazy. So I just announced it on Facebook. It's been 3 weeks now. Damn, 3 weeks. Yeah, so it's been 3 weeks, and this track that I released last year called Missing, I just put the stems up on SoundCloud and just said, okay, have at it. You have 1 month to submit a remix, and the winner is gonna be on the next remix EP on vinyl. And I mean, Matt's gonna be on the same EP with Josh Wink and Lauren Flax. So I thought it was kind of cool to give some incentive to some people that are just sitting at home doing nothing. And it's going really well. I've gotten almost a few hundred remixes already, so it's pretty cool listening to them every morning and sorting them out. So it's like, yeah, just a little over 1 more week to go.
Wow.
Yeah, pretty cool.
That's cool.
Actually, I haven't even announced that their remix was going to be on that same EP, so they're hearing it here now.
That's
I
cool.
just said that it was going to come out on a remix EP, but I'm sure that people will get excited about that to share the same record with Matt and Josh and Lauren. That'd be kind of rad. Dead air.
We're actually going to do the same next week with Black on Black. We're going to do a remix contest as well.
Oh,
Oh,
nice.
really? Black on Black remixed?
Yeah, do you want to enter, Chris?
What?
You want to enter?
I want to enter. I already told you I want to enter any remix competition that you're doing
Actually,
right now.
one condition I had for the remix contest was that no like professionals can do it. I wanted to leave it up to like, young up and coming producers.
That's
Oh,
cool.
that's nice.
Yeah, I don't want to have somebody that's got a badass studio and is like a dope producer. Just like,
Yeah, what if some badass producer just changes his name and just sends you like,
you can kind of tell though, like you can hear the audio quality sometimes.
So if it's like really dope, you're just gonna be like, I can't release this one because it sounds like it might be actually on the really good remix that I've been getting, I've been Googling the names.
Okay, cool.
All right, fair enough.
Sure, I mean that's not fair. Like, why would you do that? Bo would.
By the way,
Show people up.
Hey Matt, how did the SRVD project happen?
yeah, that's a good one because I wanted to know about the video of Black on Black 2, which you just released.
So I think I was playing at Panorama and Patrick was always there, crazy hats, dancing at the front, and somehow we got talking, and then he came over to the house because he's a budding DJ and
Hold on, Matt. Can you first explain what SVRD, what the project is, and who Patrick?
It's served basically, but without the E's in it. So he came over to the house and he showed us. He had with his phone. He showed us a video of him singing, and I was like, wow, you've got an amazing voice. And I mean, I don't tend to collaborate with a lot of people just because one, I just don't have the time, and well, that's it basically. I just don't have the time. And but with Patrick, we sort of just clicked, and this was around November 2015. Yeah, and then was it 15, 17? No, hold on, 2017. And I think January 2018, I think we made Elevate within a week. And then I had a gig at Panorama on a Sunday. And we asked him for a mic at Panorama, and he got on top of the DJ booth and sung it. And that was it. That was the start of the whole thing.
I love that song. That's amazing.
And so we started doing these sort of improvised shows. Every time I had a show at a gig at Panorama, we'd get a mic. And so Patrick would do covers of like Salida, Be Yourself, loads and loads of songs. I think we've got very similar taste in kind of like this mixture of sort of house and techno, sort of pumpy, but still party vibes. And then we got this gig to do, we managed to get an hour show during St. Christopher's Street Day that year. And so we had to come up with an hour's worth of music, and that was it. That's been the birth of the project.
It's for me, it's like such a memory trigger. It takes me back to that Teneglia Sound Factory tunnel era of New York.
But yet it sounds so fresh somehow.
Yeah.
It's just like, it's perfectly revived that kind of sound in a fresh way. And then Black on Black came, and you just released a video to that, right?
So yeah, I mean,
mind-blowing, fantastic. Can you just put it in the comment section, the video link?
I can do, yeah. And so we just, I mean, literally the crazy thing is that obviously, I mean, Patrick and I made the track back in February last year with Tom Gandy in Bordeaux. We went to do some sessions with him, and I'd had this idea to do this Everyone's Wearing Black's track for quite a few years. Kind of an
Look at it. Look at us.
And so we made this track, but then it morphed into this other kind of thing. And by the summer of last year, we kind of had the track, but then we just because of release schedules and everything else, we didn't come out until March or and this hit right when this coronavirus hit. So we've released a video, and yeah, literally as everything kind of started falling apart. But yeah. So
Hey Matt, I was going to ask you if you didn't mind explaining the posters behind you.
Okay, this one was the Jesus Christ Superstar.
Yeah.
This is like a blacklight poster from 1971 by
Was
Third
it
Eye.
Jack, what's his name that did that one?
It's the same one of the same artists who did all the Marvel stuff.
Okay.
Wow.
And then it's another poster from Costas Cervantes, the New York artist.
Cool.
Yeah, so, yeah.
I kind of heard like from a rumor that you were quite a bit of a collector of things.
Yeah. I used to be until we had the kids. So I mean, I used to have a lot of Cause stuff. I used to have 2 really large Cause figures, but we sold them. And yeah, I mean, it's just with the kids, it's just pointless having all this stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of a bit of a collector myself, like a lot of soft vinyl, Japanese stuff and things like that. But now that I've got a boy, it's like come to a stop.
What do you have behind you? What do you have behind you?
Oh, me?
Mo. Yeah.
This is a giant robot from an old Japanese 1970s animation that was out.
I remember that animation.
Yeah, it was like it came out in Japan. I mean, they didn't ever play it in the States, but you know, my brother used to watch a lot of Japanese animation stuff when I was younger, so I got exposed to it. But in the other room, I've got just walls and walls of pointless plastic thing all over the place.
I bought this like a few.
The Screaming Hand.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get something.
That's great.
The thing is I think when you start having kids, or as you get older, you realize, I mean, especially, I mean, I've got a 70 square meter basement in this building full of vinyl. And I mean, I think we're now, especially in this time, I mean, having all this stuff just means nothing.
That's a cool mug, dude.
Takes up a lot of space, unnecessary space.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I thought that's an important, an interesting question. Like, you know, hobbies that DJs have other than music. Like, what do they collect, or what are they into, or what do they do besides just playing tracks or making records?
Yeah.
Chris?
I mean, I've always been a hoarder. I mean, I think it comes with the territory of like being into music, and then when you go to like especially when I started going to the States, going to New York, going to WFMU Record Fair, you know, this whole world of collectors. Then you see people who are into books, you see people who are into, and it's kind of this whole thing, you know.
Yeah.
One thing leads to another, you know, and then, you know, so then you end up with a house full of stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. What about you, Ollie? You collect or have any hobbies?
I mean, I used to when I was a kid, but now, like, for some reason, I'm collecting this guy's mugs. He's crazy fucking.
Wow, really cool. Where did you get that?
It's a guy named Turkey Merc, and I kind of
Terrifying.
discovered him on Turkey Merc. I discovered him. I think he's one of those Hollywood kind of special effects artists. I discovered him on Instagram, and I think he does special effects, but on the side he does all kinds of mugs, and like, I mean, it's nuts. Like,
I would love to drink out of that mug every morning.
yeah, it's pretty.
That's pretty bad. Oh yeah.
So like, I don't have. I've like his whole not his whole collection, but like 5 or 6 different mugs from him. But in my Barcelona place.
Turkey Merc, you said?
Turkey Merc.
Turkey Merc.
Well, I guess you can consider collecting sake a hobby as well, right?
The problem is it doesn't stay on the shelves too long.
Actually, have you ever been to this place in Tokyo called 12 before?
No, is sake bar?
Dude, yeah, a friend of mine took me there, and he actually told me that it was one of Rich's favorite places in Tokyo as well. But it's this really tiny sake bar that holds like maybe 6 people. And to be frankly honest with you, I know nothing about sake, but the guy who owns it, he's a really young guy, and he's super into techno and dance music, and he was so excited that we were there. And he just started pouring all these different sakes for me that just absolutely blew my mind. Like unfiltered stuff, carbonated sake,
Yeah.
you know, sparkling sake, like all this shit that I didn't even know existed. And I just totally like split my head open.
As it does.
Yeah, when you go down the sake rabbit hole, it's like you don't find your way back out. It's nuts.
I've never heard of carbonated sake.
This is my
Sparkling sake, yeah.
memorabilia from Tokyo. Obviously, it's not happening now. So
Yeah.
For the Olympics.
I had a place to stay and everything.
yeah.
Did they postpone it for a year?
Yeah, to summer
think so.
2021. Yeah.
So does that mean the whole Olympics is going to shift, or is it going to stick to?
That was something I was wondering too. Is it shifting then, or is the next one 3 years later then?
Yeah, I wonder.
But I think isn't it all? It's all done with contracts. So surely the next one's already done anyway.
Right.
So they'd have to go back to it being an even number, because I'm sure it's already been. They've already arranged the next one, or because of the Winter Olympics and blah blah blah. No, I don't know.
Wait, are these Olympics are the Summer Olympics, right?
Summer, yeah, but it's always falls on an even number, doesn't it?
4 years, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Our mutual friend Kyle Geiger is online too. Hi, Kyle. And he's actually doing a producer tutorial online. Maybe you want to enter the link here somewhere. And David is doing a remix contest. What is everyone working on? What are you guys going to do? I know, Ali, we're going to be involved in a DJ talk again this coming Saturday.
Yeah,
Play
for Play Differently, yeah, with Paco, Nicole, and
right. I was thinking of doing
Richie.
I was thinking of doing a mix down tutorial of how I mix bass with kick drums. You guys, Mo, Matt, Ali, anything planned in this direction for the people out there? Because people are asking us. Any interaction going on?
For me, I'm going to be doing, actually we're just about to start setting up with Will Hybrisil. We're going to start a mixing and mastering service, and we're going to be dabbling in that kind of, going in that direction, sort of helping out people. So that's something that we're looking at the moment. But apart from that, I'm just going to be here every day making records, making tracks. Hours.
I just created a Twitch channel, and I thought I might start doing some kind of more modular based tutorials on how I achieve some of the patches that I use in some of my music. I'm still trying to pull together the logistics of it. And David and I have also been bubbling up some ideas in our head. I think it's a little bit too soon to say something now, but I think within the next 4 or 5 days, we might announce something that we're trying to do online for streaming soon.
I think it'll be fun.
Yeah. Wish we could say it now, but it's a little premature.
Can we talk about it next week? If you want to do this again next week?
Next week, yeah.
Absolutely, we can talk about it next week.
But production-wise,
do you have anything planned, Ali? Besides making
I need to clean my studio first and finish all my existing projects. But one cool thing I'm doing with Kolsch right now is we're doing like a virtual back-to-back where we created an Ableton session in Dropbox that both of us can access. And we're just like gonna release obviously like a 2+ hour DJ mix that's a back-to-back with us each putting like a track in, kind of like two people playing chess remotely. So like I started with like an ambient song and then put in the first song, and then I emailed them and I'm like, hey, it's your move. And then he put a song in, and then
that's a cool idea.
Yeah. So it's pretty interesting.
Well,
and I think maybe that'll go ahead.
Sorry, I was just gonna say, now that you said that, I'm sure a lot of people are gonna take this idea
yeah
and run with it.
Yeah, but I love
as well.
I love giving away ideas because then it forces you to make, come up with your own.
Yeah, true.
Or come up with new ones.
I'm writing this down right now.
For any of you who are familiar with my Hypoxia ambient project, I just actually finished a new record. And I don't think I'm going to go ahead and do it on vinyl, but I decided I'm going to release it on cassette tape. So I'm going to be putting that up on my Bandcamp in the next few days.
Nice. I still have a cassette player.
There you go.
Are you still writing all the Hypoxia stuff on the Buchla, or is it just random modular stuff?
It's not just
I think before.
Buchla, but I think it's just any particular. Like I did one track recently just on the ARP 2600, and then did another one recently on just a Euro rack. And I just usually for Hypoxia, what I do is I pick one synthesizer, one instrument, take it out of the studio and put it on a table and try to write music with it. And that's why it ends up becoming so ambient, because I don't have a drum machine to go along with the synth. I'm just using one instrument to record and do a track. So
that's dope, because then you can just focus on one machine and really dive into that machine.
yeah, totally.
How many cassettes are you making? How many do you?
Well, the first Hypoxia release I did, or cassette that I did, I think I pressed 300 and I sold 200 of them. So I think this one I'm going to do probably more of a limited run of 150.
Are they made locally? Who makes them? And
Yeah.
There's a company in New York that I use called Cryptic Carousel.
okay, but I mean, are there like shipping restrictions in the States now with what's going on?
No, nothing has really affected shipping yet in the US. I mean, Amazon has like only shipping essential items, but every other people have been shipping everything normally. So
Okay.
there has been a slower turnaround time for manufacturing. Like the guys just emailed me today and said that they couldn't have the tapes on my front door for another 3 weeks. And
Right.
usually I can get 150 cassette tapes in like less than 10 days.
Yeah, because I think in the UK now, I think it's basically you can only post things that like essential, like medical items and this kind of stuff. I think they have restrictions, with.
Oh wow.
So I don't think you can even do sort of that. You couldn't do Bandcamp cassettes.
Okay. Alphonse asks, why cassettes? What's the thing with cassettes?
I think for me, just having some sort of a physical object for people to hold on to is important. Whether or not they actually listen to the cassette tape, to me, is irrelevant. I mean, if you buy the cassette, it comes with the digital files anyways. And let's face it, the largest majority of people are only going to listen to the digital files. But we put so much an emphasis these days, or a lot of people do, like, oh, we need to have something on vinyl for it to be real and tangible to hold on to. But yeah,
But
sometimes
they do have a sound as well, don't they? You get this
Yeah.
sound with them.
yeah, there is a saturation to it that's unique as well. But
Yeah.
I think just being able to provide someone with something physical to actually touch and hold is important for me. And fine, if you don't care about it and you don't want something wasting space on your shelves, then just buy the digital files. You don't need to buy it.
If they were made of cardboard, wouldn't it?
There you go. I mean,
biodegradable tapes would be better than plastic.
there you go.
Yeah.
Well,
There is a subculture of people that actually still collect music on cassette tapes.
Yeah.
You still find like a lot of lo-fi noise and like punk groups doing just like small cassette tape runs, and I don't know. I seem to have tapped into that group somehow, and people buy it. So
there's a couple of Instagram profiles that they follow. There, it's all old hip hop tapes and people that collect just hip hop and old hip hop albums on cassette. And like watching that, just like, damn, it kind of makes me want to start buying old tapes, even though I probably won't listen to them. But it reminds me of being a kid and going to the record shops and buying cassettes. I guess it's more of a nostalgia thing. Well, for me,
I used to do DJ mixes on cassette.
Me too.
I used to do edits.
Like hit pause and then
record from the radio and then like cut out the commercials and then just cut into the track.
I love the smell of those chrome cassettes too.
Oh yeah.
If you actually, I can't find it right now, but if you go to YouTube and do a search, there's a guy who did a really great video on the fact that cassette tapes don't actually sound as bad as most people remember them to be. And for the most part, the reason why they sounded so terrible was not necessarily the cassette tape, but usually the devices that we were using to play them back.
Well, that and people recorded a million times over the same cassette.
Yeah.
So it sounded terrible.
I'm guilty of that. Matt, you should be doing a definitely tutorial. I'm not sure about what, but about your production, because I would watch that.
Yeah, because your stuff sounds really, really good.
Maybe, yeah. Also, maybe about how to not sort of like hoard stuff might be a starter as well. Stop buying things. Stop things. Filling your life with all this junk.
808 Pacific State is asking if you can provide the contact info for your mastering service. And if you post the link, post it in the YouTube channel here, not on our
Yeah, I
Zoom
mean,
channel.
Chris has actually heard it, but I've just done a new album, and I'm actually going to do 3 albums this year. So Radio Slave albums this is, and the idea is that as I roll them out, then it'll be more in depth, and I will do a live show as well, and also maybe more kind of not tutorials, but maybe more in studio videos of like the behind the scenes per se. So that's the idea. So yeah, people will then get to see how it's done. But yeah, that's what's going to happen.
A question that comes a lot is like, what do you guys recommend for people who have a lot of time now, who want to get into producing? How should they start? I think one thing that I just realized, or what I saw yesterday, is Ableton is giving away live for free now.
Okay.
Like, I think it's for like 90 days now. It used to be 30 days.
Is it 90 days?
I thought I remember Kyle posting something about that. He's like, well, Ableton is giving a 30-day trial, and then I think they extended to 90 days, which is that's pretty awesome, actually.
That's pretty awesome. That maybe they even extended to a year, or how long we're going to be sitting here. But that would be a good start. Get into Ableton or get into Fruity Loops. How about that, David?
Oh, Fruity Loops, yeah. Well, I've moved away from that, but I'm still a huge fan. I have a lot of old projects on Fruity Loops that I'll open up and transfer them over.
I would start. It's good. It's easy.
Me too. I'm another avid. I mean, I've still got my old PC here, which I have to go into to open old projects. So
yeah, I got projects from like 15 years ago.
Yeah, I know a lot of producers. I mean, I've met quite a few producers recently in Berlin. That's their main. That's the main thing they use.
Yeah, still. I think it's great.
Yeah. So
you guys all use Ableton?
And now, yeah.
Live?
Yeah. Pretty much when I started buying more hardware, it made more sense to have Ableton, because Fruity Loops integration with hardware is not the greatest, but working in the box, it's amazing. But once I started getting the hardware, Ableton was definitely the better choice for me personally, anyway. But I'm still a big fan.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, I wish that there's not a step sequencer that's exactly
like the Fruity
Loops within Ableton, which would be great, Because I think also it's so intuitive, and it's so easy for people to then understand, because it's literally like having a drum machine, but literally you can throw samples in, so it's so quick.
That's exactly, I remember when I would tell people, they're like, well, why are you using Fruity Loops? I'm like, man, I can open up a session and get a track going in like 2 minutes and just load up samples and already have grooves going, each sample having their own step sequencer. I was like, man, like, how come nobody has mimicked this yet? You know what I mean?
I've not tried to do it, but I think you can rewire it into Ableton, can't you?
Yeah, it's kind of a pain. Right. I don't know. That's why I never use a rewire. I'd rather just like sequence and sample stuff through Fruity Loops and then just drop the audio into Ableton.
Yeah.
Rewire was just kind of a pain. That's why I never did it.
I bought because I hadn't used it for ages. I bought the new version of FL Studio, and it's so complex and so different that I was like, shit, I just don't know. I can't use this. So I've not used it, but.
And it's for Mac now too. That's the funny part.
Yeah. I think the
Mac version.
I think the first versions and the way that it worked was, for me, how I remember making music in the 90s using like 808 or drum machine, but like you said, be able to throw samples in.
Yeah.
It was so quick, so fast, and I still don't understand why Ableton, or even within Logic, there's not the same system.
Same thing. I'm like, why? How come nobody has? Maybe there's a Max for Live sequencer out there that's similar, but I haven't found it. I haven't seen it.
Yeah,
it's great. Yeah, I'm a big fan.
If anyone knows out there, please enlighten us.
Have you ever used it, Chris?
Fruity
said
Loops.
that's-
No, I've looked at it. I was really a studio neighbor used it for a while, and then I found out actually later that David was doing all his first big records on Fruity Loops, because a lot of people dismissed Fruity Loops as this toyish kind of like sequencer thing. I don't really know why, because it was looking kind of like a candy store a little bit.
Yeah,
I think,
because
I think the sound engine.
I think the name of Fruity Loops just conjures up this image.
they're just like, oh, it's just like bullshit program. It's like, no, you can like really get deep and pretty crazy into the software.
Well, obviously can, if you listen to your productions from the first days, they were really outstanding. And I think part of it was because you were using a different software than anyone else was using, because everybody was like, oh, I'm not using Fruity Loops, I'm using Logic and Ableton. It sounds
It's like
better.
taboo, like literally. People are like, Fruity Loops, really? I'm like, what? So what? What does it matter? You know?
Yeah, but I think a lot of from talking to people, I think there's a lot of Dutch producers, a lot of, I think especially like trap and a lot of hip hop producers that are using it. Because
what's the famous EDM guy wrote tons of stuff on Fruity Loops.
Avicii.
The Dutch guy.
Dead Mouse.
No.
Didn't
Damn
he use it as well?
I think Avicii did all his early stuff. Everything was on
Avicii,
there.
and then the other guy, I can't, man, I don't know. There's like a couple that wrote like hit songs on Fruity Loops, and there's even a video of him like doing a tutorial on Fruity Loops about this hit record that he made. It's like, well, I mean, just to show you, it doesn't matter, man.
No.
Yeah. Doesn't matter what you use, just how you use it.
Exactly.
What did Ali say last week? It only matters what comes out of the speakers, right?
That's right. That was on the clip that we shared.
Exactly.
I think that was the outstanding comment. Guys, what are your plans for next week? You want to do this again next week? Shall we meet again? And everyone out there listening, thank you so much for listening. I think we'll running into 2 hours. We wanted to do one. Again, it's been a lot of fun. Send us some questions. I'm not sure where, but maybe just send them. And the internet.
Yeah.
What's your guys' plans for the coming week, everyone? What's going
Same.
on?
Do the same. It's basically the same every day.
I personally don't.
That sounds so depressing.
Well, no, it's good. I mean, I'm enjoying it. I'm home with the kids. It's 24/7. There's no kindergarten, so they're here. And
You guys in Germany you can go for walks if you want, right?
you
Or
can
no?
go out.
Yeah.
I mean, I have. Chris has been to my place. I mean, I haven't left the house I've left the house twice in 19 days.
Oh my God.
So
You
like,
don't really need to. He has a really amazing apartment with a nice terrace outside. It's amazing.
yeah. So Eva's been going out and doing the shopping, and but I'm trying to stay clear of all this stuff and self-isolate and stay healthy. You know, so that's what we do.
Tomorrow's my son's birthday, and unfortunately, his birthday party has been canceled.
Oh,
Oh shit.
The three of us
how
are
old are
gonna,
you?
yeah, my wife and I and him are gonna just try to make the best of it tomorrow and
How old
him
is
open
he?
some gifts. He's turning 3, so I mean, it's not like
Wow.
you know, it's not that big of a deal. But he was really looking forward to seeing his cousins and stuff. So we're gonna have a little Zoom meeting with him and his cousins so they can chat and have some fun.
How are you? I was kind of curious just to ask you guys who have kids here. How are you kids dealing with the whole situation? Are they afraid? Are they a little scared? Do they get it?
I think it's the same. My daughter's 4 and Harrison is 2, so they don't really know. But I think Anna kind of like, I think she misses her friends, even though she's so young. And you know, she was getting really into swimming. We can't go to the swimming pool, stuff like that, and social interaction, but also just being out and about. But I mean, it's been great. She's been painting, and we've been doing a lot of activities inside.
Yeah.
And so maybe she's at that point where she doesn't really understand. But I've got friends in the UK whose kids, and hello to Alex, the old school friend, who he's, you know, his kids, he said they won't go back to school maybe this term or this year, and they have to leave school and go to the another school. so they won't.
So they miss their friends completely.
Yeah, so they won't be able to say goodbye to their friends. So I think that kind of thing's happening, and so I guess for some kids, it's when they reach an age where friends are really tight, it must be traumatic.
Yeah,
Do your kids ask you questions, Mo? Does Ezra already ask questions, Daddy, while you're home all the time? Why were you in quarantine in the Marriott Hotel next door for 2 weeks?
Well, when I was in quarantine, he didn't really fully understand why, and it was kind of pointless to explain it to him. But he was upset that I wasn't home, and every time I FaceTimed, he would constantly be like, "You promised you were going to be home yesterday. You promised you were going to be home." And I'm like, "Oh man, how do I keep this going?" But for him, it's rough because he's not really an indoor type of kid. If he had it his way, he would spend the entire day outside. And because he has so much energy, I used to have to take him to the park whenever I was home every day and just let him run out. So now when he wakes up, he comes to me and he wants to go for a walk or he wants to go to the park and play. And I have to tell him, the park is closed. And he's like, the park's not closed. It's daytime. The park is still open. And it's really difficult to get him to understand. Like I try to tell him, well, a lot of people are sick and we need to stay home and try to, to get better, and he kind of understands, but it's difficult for him to wrap his head around. I think sometimes he thinks I'm just being mean and I don't want to let him go out and play, but I'm just, doing whatever we can. But good thing my wife is really, really good at always having activities for him, finger painting and, playing with things, wow. And, doing some kinds of arts and crafts and stuff. So we've turned our garage, like we've moved our garage and we've parked the cars outside. And we've turned that into kind of like an art playroom for him so he can kind of do some things to keep him busy. But yeah, it's definitely been difficult. That's it.
My 14-year-old did a school report today, and her topic was Donald Trump. So she interviewed me.
Wait,
that was fun.
Did she what? She wanted to interview?
She interviewed me about that. We're the right person to talk about Donald Trump.
Chris, how often are you seeing your kids?
I basically see them once a week. I try and see them once a week. Yeah, this is still possible here.
What are their ages?
10 and 14.
So they obviously understand what's happening.
Oh, they totally understand, but they're super easygoing with the whole situation somehow. They really understand it. They know what's going on. I mean, they know as much going on as we do. We don't know shit what's going on. But they kind of take it in a cool way, and that's fine. I basically FaceTime with them every day for like an hour even, and then once a week I get to see them. As long as this is still possible, and yeah, that's kind of the thing. So let's do this again next week, guys, if you want to. That was a lot of fun. Thanks for everyone for watching. We have a little outro melody coming in.
Good to see you guys. Have a great weekend.
Yeah, you too.
Good to see
Healthy,
everyone.
guys.
Stay fine and well. More music next week. More next week.
I hope I'm more productive this week.
Ciao.
Cheers.
Ciao.